Hey everybody, this is Tim Hinton, the Beast of the Marching Arts. Welcome to the Marching Roundtable podcast. We're talking about making smarter music choices, specifically about marching band and specifically about buying an existing show. But I think there'll be advice here that you can use in many different ways in all the different parts of your program. Now, I'm doing something a little different today. I'm going to try this. I am just going to be talking to you, just me. A lot of times, most of the time, I have a guest and we talk about, our set of guests. We talk about a topic back and forth. But today I'm just going to be talking to you, just me, because I've been a music arranger for over 30 years. I was a band director for 10 years. In 1993, I started working full-time as a music arranger. And I've been doing it a really long time. So I've written a lot of shows and I've written drill for a lot of people with their own music. And I understand that there are styles and things of types of music and types of shows that each person likes better or is more comfortable for them. And so, yes, there are some things about existing music arrangements that can be hard for me as a drill writer because that arranger writes differently than I do. But what I want to talk about today is specifically making smart choices for your band. I'm going to be telling you things you already know. I'm just going to be kind of reviewing. So I know that most of you know how to choose the right music and most of you are doing a great job. But there might be some tip here that you find helpful. So that's my intent. So, like I said, I've been writing music for a really long time, 30 plus years for marching band. And my goal as a music arranger is always to write at the right level for that band and to try to set them up for success, highlight their strengths, hide all of their weaknesses. I'm speaking from that context of me thinking about writing shows. And then, as I said, writing drill for a lot of other arrangers' music. Sometimes that's challenging for me because of the style, but sometimes I feel like the band director has not made a good choice for their band. I'm not saying that the music arrangement they chose isn't a great show or a great arrangement or that the arranger or composer hasn't done something terrific, but a lot of times it's not the right show for the band that the band director has in front of them. So the first thing I want to remind you, everybody, is just I encourage you to have a little sit down with yourself and really, really take stock of who you have. The main problem that I find when a director sends me music to write drill for, if it's not something I've written myself, is that they have chosen music that's too hard for their band. It's too complicated. It doesn't feature the right things, but a lot of times it's aspirational. And listen, I get it, band directors. You want your band to be that band that can do this show. But sometimes it's a show that you need to put aside and pick up 3 years from now after you have built your band and their skills and their talent level and their ability to play and all that stuff. Maybe that's a show you're not quite ready for. So I think the problem a lot of us have is you go to a music site, the show is exciting, you listen to it, the production of the recording is really slick, and you're like, wow, I want my band to be this. I want my band to sound like this. I would love to present this show. But you need to look closely at the score. You need to look at the ranges of the instruments. You need to look at the amount of time they're playing, the amount of time they're not playing, who's playing when, etc., etc. I'm going to talk to you a little bit later about how you can fix and change, and I encourage you to fix and change an existing arrangement to fit your group better. But the bottom line thing I want to say is make sure it's appropriate for your group. I've had directors send me music for me to write drill to for them in the last few years, and a lot of times it is just way, way too hard for the group. And how do I know this? Well, the first thing I always do when I'm writing for any group that I don't know very well is I look at a recording of the band from the year before. And even though they've probably done great teaching and the band's going to be better the next year, you can tell whether they're up to the challenge. And a lot of times, I think the director's gotten excited about a piece of music that they really love, a lot of times a concert band piece or something, and they've just decided, wow, I really like this, is exciting to me, but a lot of times it doesn't work for their group very well, and I have to really use all the tools in my drill writing toolkit to try to make it work for them. One of the things I often do is ask them to make some cuts. So we're sort of getting into the thing already about how to change a show and make it work better for your group. A lot of times shows are too hard, too long, there's too much, phrases go on forever. You have the ability, if you've bought that show, unless the company or the person you've bought from is refusing to let you make any changes. And if that's the case, I wouldn't buy it, because every band is different and every group the show needs to be adapted in some ways. Okay, now don't throw Louie Louie into the middle of a Tchaikovsky arrangement of mine and then say that I did that. Okay, obviously we want you to be respectful to the intent of the show and what the music is. But you're going to do that anyway. You're a smart person. But you make cuts. All right. A lot of times the show is too long. There can be whole chunks of it that can go away. And again, depending on the strengths and weaknesses of your group. So really sit down with you and your team, whoever you have to help you, and figure out exactly what do we have, and then why did we choose this music, and then do we need to do some things to make it work better. All right. So one of the things is making cuts. The other thing in today's arrangements is you want to add some space. And I'm going to come back to that later when I talk about existing older arrangements and sound design as well. But usually it's too difficult, so you want to adapt it. So here's the thing. Figure out what you have and then adapt the show for that. Now, from a visual and a musical point of view, that can be anything that you have. Do you have that one dancer girl that can do amazing things and you're going to feature her? Or do you have a fantastic color guard? Or do you have a great percussion line or a great soloist or that first chair All-State kid? You can adapt the show to feature them. That is always the idea. Is anytime you're putting a show out there on the field, any type of show that you're putting in front of an audience or a judge, you always want to feature the things that you do, highlight the things that you have that are great, and then hide all the weaknesses. So be willing to make cuts, be willing to change who the soloist is, be willing to change phrases, and that is something that there are people to help you with. I think a lot of times somebody gets an arrangement, and like I said, the production that they're listening to on the recording is really slick and it's super impressive. And they forget that, oh, wow, the trumpets are playing up in high C's the whole time, and I don't have kids that can do that. Or, man, this is way, way too technical for my woodwind section or whatever. So you need to be able to adapt it. Now, if you're going to play one of my arrangements, for example, all you have to do is reach out to me and say, hey, can you help adapt this for my group? I can help do those rewrites for you. Or somebody on your team may be able to do it, or somebody else may be able to take it and adapt it. But don't be afraid to make changes. The show that you're getting is not holy writ, okay? It is, you're trying to make music. The judge is going to respond to the amount of music and effect that you make. Does it sound good? Is it in tune? Is it well balanced? Is there effect? Is the pacing good? Am I being engaged the whole time? Are there ups and downs and variety of moods and changes in pacing of speeds and tempos and the whole thing? So if the show's been well designed and you're buying an existing show that's been well designed, a lot of that will be there, right? The pacing of the show, the variety of the effects, the instrumentation, the orchestration, all that stuff, that should be there, but you can still make it fit your group better. So don't be afraid to do that. Like I said, there are people like myself or whoever you might have around you or that you know that can help you. Let's look at this. Do we need to add some space? Is it too percussion heavy? Is it to have the wrong soloists? All of these things can be changed and adapted, and you can do that. Someone on your team can do that, or you can hire somebody to do that. So don't be afraid to take that next step. I think a lot of times people think, I really like this show, I'm going to buy it, I'm going to do it, and they stop. And then they send it to me as a drill writer, and I'm like, wow, how am I going to make this work? And a lot of times the director then, I'll have that conversation with them and say, hey, this is going to be a lot of pages of drill. Or, man, you know, can I just, I'm going to have your brass section stand around a lot because this is really demanding. Or, you know, these woodwind runs, are you sure? So, like, let's talk through it, right? And do that with your team, and then do that with whoever's helping you put your show together, your drill designer, your guard people, whatever. Let's figure out how to make it work better for us. Because if it's a great show and you're excited by it when you listen to it and you decide to do it, then you need to make the right changes. Let me give you an example. I had somebody send me a show a couple years ago, and it was an aspirational show. Like, this band was not ready to play this music, in my opinion. And so it was a concert band piece that's very sophisticated, very difficult, grade 6+, and it was a good show, but it wasn't the right show for this band. So as a drill writer, we had to figure out how to make it work. So I did a lot of those things, like I just mentioned, when the brass had an incredibly difficult phrase, I stood them still, and then I had somebody else move, right? That's one of our tricks in the visual world. Or for the woodwinds, we watered down some of the difficult runs. We might have changed the soloist here or there. Visually, the color guard was very weak, and this was a very sophisticated, very difficult show. So we came up with an umbrella idea. Our idea was, okay, let's come up with some prop that they can use that's going to be effective. So we had a theme of umbrellas, and they could run around with different color colored umbrellas, and suddenly there was a motif, visual motif, and an idea that we used the whole show. And somebody that doesn't have a lot of guard skills can create a lot of effect running across the field or dancing across the field with an umbrella. So that was our solution there. We also had a great piano player in the front ensemble, and so we took some of the difficult music and literally transcribed it for the pianist. So we would have an entire phrase where the pianist, perhaps accompanied by the front ensemble as well, we just rearranged that phrase or that part of the music. So the music was there, and the judge or the spectator who goes, oh, I like this piece of music, and oh, well, what a surprise that they decided to rearrange that section differently than I expected. But again, it gave the winds a break because they needed it, right? And a lot of moving out of time and staging. Of course, that's something we're doing a lot of now these days. But rather than having 150 pages of drill for this incredibly complex thing, we did a lot of sort of moving out of time, the clarinets or woodwinds running over here and restaging and that kind of thing. That can be tricky if you don't know how to do that, but there are videos about how to do that, and characterization and moving out of time and restaging. All of those things are available at Marching Arts Education, or lots of people in the activity are great at it. So don't be afraid to ask and figure that all out. Now, let me back up just a little bit. I've been writing shows for 30 plus years, and one of the things I'm proud of is that directors often tell me that they don't get sick of the music, which is a huge, best compliment I can get, and that they never ran out of things to work on. That means that there's a lot of content in the music that's sort of educational, and okay, there's rhythms and phrasing and things that we can constantly work on and that I can engage my students with throughout the whole season, because we all know there's nothing worse than getting sick of the music at the end of band camp and you don't really have anything to work on throughout the season. So that's one of the things I'm proud of. By the way, my music is at Marching Monk these days, so if you're interested in looking at any of my arrangements, you can go there. The only reason I mention my arrangements is because I want to use them as an example. A lot of those arrangements were written a while back, and they're really solid. They're educational. They are good shows. I'm using this just as a context for this conversation because I know my music, and I can just use that as an example. But if you were going to do a show today, it's not written for the show today. There's not as much space. There is less space for sound design. These days, there's lots of space in shows, which actually is a really good thing. By space, I just mean times when either the winds aren't playing, or parts of the winds aren't playing, or there's a lot of percussion breaks, or just space for sound design during transitions. All of this is sort of new things, right, that we didn't have, say, 15 years ago or 20 years ago, whatever. So what I want to encourage you to do is don't be afraid to take an older show and make it new. And again, if you were to go to Marching Monk and pull up one of my arrangements and you're like, I like this, it seems appropriate for my group, but it doesn't seem quite current enough, that's fine. Then reach out to me or find somebody to help you and figure out how to adjust it. Okay, take a phrase and pull it out of the winds and put it into the front ensemble, or add a sound design transition that's not there in the original, or add a sound design layer and take the winds out or all the woodwinds out or something. Like, in other words, feel free to create the space and rethink the music. But the effect of the music in the show that's there is valid, right? The pacing of the show, the melodic lines, the effect of the arrangement itself is good, but you just sort of might want to update it. So I'm saying this because a lot of times I talk to people that are selling music. Like, through their company, they have a lot of different arrangers' music that they sell, and they feel like, they've told me, they don't always feel like they're selling the best arrangements, but maybe they're selling the thing that somehow it resonates in today's environment or seems like it might work. This is what judges seem to be looking for. Well, listen, here's what I'm going to tell you. Be bold and figure out, find the right people to help you update an existing arrangement that's super solid. And I think that you'll be really, really happy that you did. So bring in somebody that does sound design. If you don't know anybody, reach out to me. I'll give you some connections. And say to them, I like this show. Where do we need to add space? Where could we add sound design? How can we make it more current? And then also sit down with your staff very seriously and figure out, how does this really fit our group? Some of the existing arrangements that people have sent to me to write drill for are super percussion heavy, for example, because it was written for a group that had a fantastic percussion section and they featured them a lot. Well, maybe your band doesn't have that fantastic percussion section. There's so much that you can do to either take some of that percussion breaks out, or give it to somebody else, or put it in the sound design, or make it a soloist, or put it in the piano and the front ensemble. There's all these ways to rethink it. So what I'm encouraging you to do is to to take some chances and be bold and make a show your own. I think directors are really nervous about all the new things and how shows are put together and how different they are. But here's what I do know. Band directors know music. They know how to teach kids to play, and you know your kids, and you know how you can make them successful. So I want to empower you today, as if you're listening to this, is to, when you find that show, then think, okay, I love this show. I like it now. Let me make it more current, perhaps, or let me make sure it's exactly right for my group. What do I need to do? What parts of it do I need to change? Is the range? Is it the who's featured? Is it the soloist? Is it the technicality of the woodwind book? Is it not enough space for the front ensemble? Whatever it is, what do I have there strong? Where are my weaknesses? Lay that all out. Put it up on the board. Get your team together. Sit down, plan it out, and then say, okay, now let's take this show that we like, that we think is really effective, and let's adapt it and improve it or change it to be just what we need. I want to empower you, Mr. Band Director. You know music. You know how to teach music. You can do this part. Now, you may get really nervous when you start to think about how to adapting it visually, and that's where you have lots of people that can help you, your drill writer, your guard person, or whoever you have, or a friend. If you're doing those things yourself, a friend or person like myself who you can hire to help you rethink it and give you ideas. I'll just tell you, one of the things I love to do is when somebody calls me up and says, okay, I want to just tell you our show idea and our concept and what we're planning to do, and then just tell me from your years of experience what you think. And a lot of times I will immediately go, oh man, you don't want to do that part of your idea because I tried that back in 1980, whatever, and I can tell you why you don't want to do that. Or I could say things like, you don't have to be so literal. This is the thing I say the most to people. You don't have to be so literal. You can take that idea and do it more abstractly. Just gesture toward the story rather than feeling like you have to have the story. For example, I know I'm a little off topic, but I'm going to keep going. If you're trying to tell a story, be abstract. Judges and audiences will give you the benefit of the doubt if it seems artistic and you're sort of alluding to a castle. Or rather than creating Cinderella's golden carriage, have a flag with the golden carriage on it that someone appears with and dances with, and you're like, oh, the golden carriage has arrived, right? So the same thing musically. You don't have to be literal, but you can make the effect of the music. You can tell the story of the music. You can rearrange it. People know it's a marching show. It's not literal, so they don't expect it to sound like the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, but they do expect to hear the right melodies in tune with good balance. I can follow it along. Oh, wow, that phrase went into the front ensemble. Oh, a soloist is playing this thing that nobody cares. If they just want it to be musical, they want it to be effective, they want to enjoy the show and have a great experience. And of course, you want to set your kids up for success. That's the bottom line. You want your students to have a show that is going to be successful for them. And if you're asking them to do too much, or you haven't taken the time to stop and go through this process, how can we adapt this? What do we need to change? Do we need to just cut out the entire third movement? Do I need to change the soloists? That woodwind little noodly thing. Well, maybe that just goes to my two top, all district kids on the sideline at a mic, and everybody else does something visual. Or this transition could be a new sound design idea, and I know some people that I can hire. And listen, it's not that expensive, everybody. Like, these guys are working, I think, at a really fair rate. And just call them up and say, here's what we're trying to do. What ideas do you have? And they are full of great ideas. So reach out to somebody like me, reach out to people in the neighboring band director who's good, somebody that you have as a friend that's good at show design, whatever, and get them involved and have a conversation and be willing to change the music and start by making good choices up front. Don't choose a show that's too hard for your kids up front and then try to dumb it down, but choose a show that's at the right level for your students. Most bands try to do too much. Most marching arrangements have too many notes. I know I sound like Salieri, but that's the case, right? It has most bands try to do too much. You can create a lot of effect playing a lot fewer notes. If you're going to BOA Grand Nationals, maybe this conversation is not for you because you've already got this figured out. But if you're just trying to have the best band in your area and you want your kids to have the best season ever, I hope these suggestions have been helpful. So start by making good choices, find a show you really love, then be willing to sit down with your team, with your staff, with somebody that like me that you call in and just say, like, help us figure this out. How do I adapt this? Go to the arranger and say, hey, can you help us rewrite the ballad because I need it to be like this, this, and this. And I guarantee you they likely will. right? Because I'm happy to do that. Yeah, I might ask a small fee for that time to do that rewrite, but it adapted. Or you may have somebody on your team, or you may have the ability to do that. It doesn't matter to me. As an arranger and a show designer, just like all the others out there, I want you to be successful. I want you to have a great show, and I want you to hit home runs left and right. I want your home crowd to love it. I want the judges to love it. I want your students to have so much fun and be successful and feel great about all that hard work that they're putting in. So make smarter music choices. Be willing to take chances in doing some rewrites and changing it to fit better for your group, or update it for the current climate of the marching band world. And be careful of those super slick shows that can really sell you on something, and then when you really sit down with it and study the score, you realize, oh wow, this is really not right for my group, and I don't want to change it this much. Don't choose something you have to change everything. I'm talking about making a few really smart changes. So I've rambled on. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you for listening to this or watching the video on YouTube. And I hope this has been helpful. Have a great season. Be bold. I hope you feel empowered to make those changes. Make good choices up front. Find solid, great music arrangements. Fix them, change them, adapt them for your group. Have the best season ever. Thanks.